I don't appreciate his style. I don't believe that we desperately need leaders who try and unite rather than divide. I think his tactics have proven that he's just there to win, and I'm looking for leaders that inspire us to do better. I'm very disappointed in our country and what it's inciting and where we're heading, and I think we can do better. As far as what I appreciate about him, I'll think about that and get back to you.
Ms. Hallquist.
Yeah, I think that what we have for Donald Trump, I can't say there's anything I admire about the person. You've got a person there who's clearly got, I think, serious psychological issues. I mean, is clearly a narcissist, clearly something that needs to be told all the time how good they are. They clearly need to have their ego, he needs to have his ego pumped up. It's really a terrible thing that we have happening here in terms of our leadership. And I'm just so ashamed that the National Republican Party hasn't done anything about it. It's just this again goes to my personal fear. You know, he's actually decided that he wants to eradicate my whole community. I mean, in 1933, one of the first people that were sent to the concentration camps were the transgender individuals. I am very afraid about the future of our country.
You're talking about the President of the United States.
Yes. Yes, I am.
What is our state's most pressing environmental challenge, Ms. Hallquist?
Our most pressing environmental challenge, I think there are two, our waterways and our climate. Our climate is a pressing challenge for the whole planet. And the waterways are an immediate threat to all of our future in terms of our economic growth and development. There's a plan. Beth Pierce wrote a good plan for how to solve the waterway issue. It requires investments. It requires strategic investment. $1 invested today saves $3 over the long term. I'm committed to make sure that's funded for the long term. When it comes to climate change, when I left Vermont Electric Co-op, we were 96% carbon free. We didn't have a rate increase for 5 years. I know we can solve climate change. It does not need to cost more money. Vermont exports $2 billion a year to the fossil fuel industry. We keep that money in state. We're going to spur innovation, create jobs. But we're not going to do it ourselves. I am committed to lead a North American solution for climate change. I've already met with the Canadian delegation. I also met with the former governor of Colorado, who has 19 states signed on to an accord. Vermont can lead in terms of solving climate change for North America.
Most pressing environmental challenge.
I would agree with Christine on this issue that our waterways, certainly Lake Champlain is the crown jewel of Vermont, and we need to make sure that we clean it up. And it didn't happen overnight, and we have a plan to do so over the next 20 to 30 years. And it's going to take commitment on all our parts to do that, and we've done that. We were able to put forth some funding to get us through the first couple of years. In fact, it was 70% more than was spent in previous administration. I'm very proud of that, and we'll continue with that. I'm committed to that. And as well, I'm committed to 90% renewables by 2050, and I think it's attainable. But 60% of our carbon emissions are from transportation, and that's why we have to start investing in our infrastructure, our charging infrastructure. We're going to be moving to electric vehicles. Elon Musk believes that will be 90% of the vehicles will be EVs, electric vehicles, within 20 years, and I believe that as well, because I've seen Harley Davidson has come out with a line of motorcycles that are electric, and that's a sign.
Vermont's only commercial landfill is in Coventry. It's outside of Newport. It's 78 acres. It's owned by Casella. The state has approved its expansion of 51 acres, which would cover about 25 more years. But some folks in the kingdom and along the Quebec border are nervous. They voiced their concern during public comment about pollutants and leachate from the landfill contaminating the drinking water and Lake Memphremagog. What do you tell them tonight?
Mr. Scott.
Let's start with, yes, Mr. Scott.
Well, I understand their concerns. It's the only landfill left in Vermont, the only viable landfill left in Vermont. When it was first initiated, it was unlined, so there was some contamination as a result. But since then, it's all been fully lined. They pump out, it's an intricate system, they pump out the contaminants and leachate and so forth on a daily basis. It's very sophisticated. The experts at the Agency of Natural Resources, the scientists and others felt that they should be moved forward. And as well, there's an Act 250 review that will have to happen at this point. But again, we need to do more in terms of recycling and composting. I believe that's the future for us as a state.
Ms. Hallquist?
Yeah, I will point out that this is a classic problem. In my work with climate change, I recognize that there's serious economic justice issues that happen. In fact, I was part of a documentary called Denial Documentary. I took the film crew to show them where the biggest polluter in the country was. It was located in the poorest part of Texas. That's what we do. We take and locate these things in poorer communities, and I think it has to stop. We need to take responsibility. I think those people have done their duty. I think we need to find an alternative site. And this is, again, a result of poor long-term planning. If you look, I went down to Brattleboro 2 weeks ago. Brattleboro is working on a digester for biosolids they will take out of their solid waste stream and out of their liquid waste stream. There are answers to this that will save our waterways and save our communities. But I do believe that they've done their duty up there. And that landfill is actually taking garbage from out of state as well. That's another one of those for-profit ventures that's creating problems for our communities.
So would you stop that if you're elected?
I would work, yes, I would. Of course, we need a place to put our landfill. I would certainly stop waste coming in from out of state, and I would find an alternative site.
Well, very difficult to cite anything of that magnitude anywhere in the state. That's why we're down to one. Secondly, it's much like our correctional facilities, very difficult to cite them. But I agree, sticking them up in the Northeast Kingdom is a problem. I mean, they are under a lot of burden, high unemployment, and economic challenges as well. And that's why I resisted the wind generation that was placed on and destroyed their mountaintops and their ridge lines. And I thought that was economic injustice as well.